Well, I've now led two services since the COVID-19 regulations came in, and I thought it might be useful to other preachers and ministers who have not yet led a service in these circumstances to have some idea of what it feels like. First of all, the attitudes and atmosphere in the church is entirely different. When people arrive, they're asked to give their names in for track and trace, sanitize their hands. They're not given a hymn book. They're not given a Bible. There's no handshakes. There's no hugs. Welcome is a bit subdued, to say the least. And then when they go into the main hall for the worship area, they're scattered all over the hall because they're all 2 meters apart. And from a preaching point of view, it means you've got to use your whole voice and project to every corner of the room, whereas previously perhaps we just focus on the clusters of people. So there are some real issues of delivery to people. The other thing is they're wearing masks. Now you can see their eyes, but you can't see their faces, and you can't see their smiles, you can't see their noses. And every preacher learns how to nuance their message and their introductions and so on, and relates to the audience. When that's happening, you can't do it. It's even worse if you're wearing a mask yourself. In the end, I just gave up. My glasses were steaming up. I was 5 meters from anybody, and I just thought, well, I'm just going to have to use my voice. Otherwise, it would have been impossible. The thing, though, that hit me hardest was the lack of hymn singing. Now, we've tried various ways to get round this. We've said the hymns together on occasions, or we've had the pianist play part of the hymn and then we've said them together, or somebody's read them out, or whatever. So much of our theology, so much of the faith from a Methodist point of view is summed up in our hymns. And it's no accident, as you will find when you're leading a service, that they take up perhaps 1/3 of the service time. They're very, very important parts of Methodist theology and practice. And they're not there. And they're main staging points in a service. And I found it very, very difficult. Now, the other thing which I think I found difficult was that the Holy Spirit, which is so important for any service, is very difficult to feel. You know, we sang this morning, for example, that wonderful hymn, "All Praise to Our Redeeming Lord." And you come to these wonderful phrases at the end. "We all partake the joy of one, the common peace we feel, a peace to sensual minds unknown, a joy unspeakable." And we really rely on music to express those words. Perhaps we don't even express them in our sermons or in our prayers, but in our music, that's how we express them. And if you just say them, it just doesn't sound the same. So we really need to work out a way of doing something communally together, which replaces those hymns. The other thing which struck me was that afterwards, when we all went out, there wasn't the usual cup of tea, and I got home fairly quickly and had a cup of tea because, frankly, I was gasping. But it's very difficult to say to people, actually, you've got to leave the premises now. Please don't loiter in the lobby for fear of infecting people. It's a completely different atmosphere of a church. Now, how do I do it when we start preaching again on the plan on a regular basis? I think the first thing is that you should try and include as many people in the service as possible. In other words, farm out the readings, make sure you've got readers available, make sure that you've got people to join in the prayers and so on. Involve people, because most people are involved through the hymns. They're not involved in any other way. This time you have to really plan the service. I think the other thing is that we need to look at the use of visual aids, overhead projectors and so on in much more detail. And I think it is possible that we can continue to worship in the present circumstances. But I must warn you, it will be harder. It will be more difficult. It will stretch every single thing you've learned about preaching during the time of training and the years that you've been doing it are going to be stretched in the next few weeks. So that's just some thoughts. It's not going to be easy. Stay safe, God bless, and take care.